were quite challenging. England trounced Pakistan in the final. That was in Australia. So both the teams are equally capable of playing in different kind of conditions, and that is how they prepare. And I think the hallmark of both these sides is that they know when to peak. And on top of it, both sides have got enough experience not only playing for the country but also playing international T20 leagues. So pretty well equipped to handle such a high pressure encounter, both the sides for that matter.
Absolutely. And Vijay sir, sweet memories for Joss Butler and co, because they might have watched what happened in 2010 with Paul Collingwood at the helm.
Oh yeah, you can say that, but a lot has changed since then. I mean, like, even in the recent past, the way these two teams have played the T20 format especially, and if you look, England in last 4-5 years, their numbers against Australia has changed completely. Before that, if you look, it's Australia dominating but last 4-5 years, it's England coming into the peak, and I think a lot of credit needs to be given the mindset that have changed, and I think it's Ben Stokes, although he's not here, but his aggression has changed everything. Last 7 or 8 meetings between these two teams, England is leading like anything. I mean, like 5-1. That's the score, and that tells you that how this thing is changed, how the England has approached this format, and how they are dominating at least against Australia.
And domination it shall be, because these two teams would not want to give an inch to each other. That's how intense this contest is going to be. And what makes it so intense is the mind they've put behind picking the squads first up. So let's go and watch the squads. So in squads up, we talk about two teams on our hands today, Australia and England. And both of them, as I said, wouldn't want to give an inch to each other. That can only happen if you have done a lot of homework and matchups as well. We'll talk about that. Firstly, Australia, the squad, what do you think about that one?
They are blessed with so many all-rounders, and they have tried to cover all the bases. They know very well that they'll play their matches in West Indies, and accordingly they have picked the side. If you look at their 15, they have got 2 spinners, Adam Zampa and Ashton Agar. Ashton Agar, although hasn't played so far, but he's also quite an all-rounder, tall left-arm spin bowler. He may come in effective if Australia wants to play 2 spinners. On top of that, they do have Marcus Stoinis, plus Mitch Marsh hasn't bowled so well, hasn't bowled so far, but I'm sure as the tournament progresses, he may be fit to bowl. They have top quality pace bowlers. You have Pat Cummins, you have Mitch Starc, then they have Josh Hazlewood. So I think the bowling looks quite complete. And as I said at the beginning, that they are blessed with some wonderful all-rounders. They have Marcus Stoinis, who comes at number 4, number 5. And so many members from this side, they have won ICC events in different formats, so they know how to prepare and they know how to execute their plans, and I think that's the biggest achievement or the biggest advantage with a team like Australia.
And it's very interesting. I was looking at a stat since the last T20 World Cup. If you look at the playing 11, there's only one change you see: Finch going out and Travis Head coming in. Apart from that, the other 10 is almost same. So this tells you the continuity. This tells you that how they find this score and they continue with that. Saba has mentioned about spinners. I think Maxwell. Let's not forget about Maxwell. He's very handy, and I think last couple of matches, or let's say last almost.
Is he playing more as a bowler or a
more
batter?
as a bowler, but then it'll be very interesting, Saba. If you see this English side got 5 right-handers right at the top. So it'll be very interesting to see how they use an off-spinner against them, because everybody's tend to using their spinners, but him bowling against a left-hander that's where Maxwell come into the picture. But 5 top-order batsmen for England at the moment are right-hand. Only them and Ireland is the two teams who got 5 top-order right-hand batsmen. So it will be interesting to see how they match up. But Maxwell will play for surely.
And Australia probably whispering in his ear that the IPL's over, come back into form, you tried your level best, he still is.
Well, they must have said that in the first game as well.
Yes, they must have.
Again, isn't it?
They must have. Now, there's news coming in. England have won the flip of the coin battle, and they say they want to be bowling first. Thoughts?
No brains at all in this, because Bridgetown is a tough condition to play in. The Kensington Oval has not favoured the batting lineup, and the kind of scores we have seen in the past 3-4 games that has taken place in this World Cup itself has been an up and down kind of a performance. And you possibly can't judge the surface based on the way the so-called emerging teams have played. So I'm looking at the game between Scotland and England. That was touted to be a high-scoring encounter, because Scotland started off quite well.
Yeah.
But then rain intervened. So I'm looking at that. So hopefully, I think they get a better surface than what we have seen in the past.
Well, to
that
exploit those conditions, it must be men on your screen right now.
Yeah, well, when England, have always thought of England as the innovators, not only in this format, and they are one nation or one cricket management that looks to address issues. And the reason they've brought in this huge change in their white ball cricket is because they realized some years ago, I think 2015 World Cup, they're not going anywhere in the white ball cricket. They brought in some huge changes, and we see a result of that. No wonder they won the previous World Cup. They've done quite well in white ball cricket overall, be it in England or be it in other conditions. So I think England looks pretty solid to me. Phil Salt comes in. Joss Butler remains a key player. They brought in two spinners. They have Adil Rashid in excellent form. They have Moeen Ali. Then their pace bowling, in my opinion, not so weak. But Jofra Archer coming in, they should give him that kind of impetus. But they do have Mark Wood, so two top quality pace bowlers with speed. And then they do have some excellent all-rounders. Harry Brook is there, Liam Livingston is there. So I think they are a very decent side.
No, but I'm really looking forward to see Mark Wood and Jofra Archer bowling in tandem. I mean, like, with that kind of pace and these kind of pitches, it'll be very interesting to see, especially the top order. If you look at the Australian top order, Mitch Marsh and Travis Head, they love pace. How will they go about it? And it's very interesting because apart from this tournament, if you see the T20 format, everybody is going really heavy in first 6 overs. But on the other end, you're not making many big scores here. So you're thinking, all right, safety first. So they're going for anything between 30-40, but not losing too many wickets. On this particular ground, the game against Oman is where Australia has scored 160 plus. Otherwise, you're not getting many runs on this ground. So that's one thing you're keeping in mind. But it's the other interesting thing. We all know that you're not making big runs. But still, most of the teams are prefer to chase. Now it's very interesting because normally, put runs on the board if it's a dicey sort of a wicket. That's what Afghanistan has done against New Zealand. If you have runs on the board, you can challenge.
But that sort of brings me to the next question as well. Now, decision to bowl first, you said it's a no-brainer. Did they look at the sky or did they look at the surface? Up or down?
Has to be the surface.
Surface, yes.
Yeah, it's very clear. But unless the conditions are overcast, which you possibly can't expect in Bridgetown. Although it rained, but I think it's the surface. And I think it is quite tricky. And this is the day encounter. I think the game starts around 1 o'clock, Vijay, is it?
It's around 1 o'clock.
Barbados time. And in that kind of heat, you would prefer to field first, try and exploit whatever is there in the surface. And run chase may turn out to be easy, but I think England is under the cost a little bit because of that rain interruption game in which they lost some valuable points. So from here onwards, for England, each game is going to be extremely crucial.
76% humidity, 28.94 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
But nobody in England's complaining because they want a whole game right now. And this is what the head-to-head stats look like. When these two giants lock horns against each other, batting first, Australia 5, England 7. They're reminding themselves of this, England.
I think these numbers, these stats, you need to see which condition they are, where they're playing, and is it a day game, day and night game? Mostly T20 games are day and night all over the world at the moment.
Yeah.
But especially here, I think it's completely different. Especially the kind of start that you had here about not getting too many runs. So stats do tell you something, but not everything.
The points table is also screaming a story.
And in a T20 format, even a team like Namibia or Scotland can worry you.
Yeah.
And we saw that in that game against England. Scotland
90 for no loss.
Came up with such a stellar performance. Yeah. They were well on course to reach about 180, 190, and that would have made things very difficult for England. Oman, they put up quite a fight against Australia, although Australia did manage to win in the end. But I think there was a stage in the game where David Warner and Marcus Stoinis batting together, and they're unable to get a boundary of 30 deliveries. Unimaginable when these two players are batting like that. So it goes to show that there are these the other three sides who are quite competitive. And in the T20 format, because it is such a short format, given the conditions, it makes it more arduous for established sides to do well.
And the other thing I'll just add on, we're talking about not having too many runs been scored on these kind of surface, but fielding is also very important. If you just mentioned about the Oman game, Stoinis got dropped when he was scored 6 or 7. That game could have completely changed from there. Yeah. So fielding is going to be very important. Running between the wicket is going to be very important because everybody's saying these kind of pitches, if you put 140 plus, you can challenge the opposition like anything with good fielding.
So 140 plus, given the dimensions of the ground, you can cover the ground very quickly as well. You're telling us can be a very tricky total?
I mean, like, it's different. The kind of ground that you have in US is completely, a lot of people are not very happy to see that outfield there in New York. I think this is that one ground everybody talking about. Not only the surface as well, the outfield is not there. But West Indies got a history. I mean, like, these grounds you have played there. And surfaces, I'm not too surprised because we do get these kind of surfaces. If you remember the last World Cup that happened here, that also not very high scoring games there.
Even
but
the Caribbean League,
you don't see.
You see some low scores. Although look at the average first inning score here is 137. But I think because Australia now is batting first, they would love to post a score about 150, 160 to make it challenging for England.
But there's another thing. We've been spoiled in T20 cricket because when we see T20 cricket in flat pitches, mostly wherever you see in league or international games as well, 180 is a pass score now. And that's the reason, a big reason for that is that you go crazy in first 6 overs. But these pitches are not allowing you to go crazy in first 6 overs. There's a safety first sort of an approach right now.
Might be a T20 game, but it's definitely restoring the balance between bat and ball.
You call that restoring?
Well,
I look at it as reinventing the wheel now. The teams came with a different kind of a mindset, and now with the challenges, they really have to go back and do some more homework. And I think teams that are capable of playing both kinds of cricket, so to speak, team that have batters who can play conventional cricket. On top of that, they have batters who can innovate. I think such teams may have more chances of succeeding in this tournament. That is why India has a wonderful chance of winning this one.
We will get there as well. But I'll tell you what, this game has got a lot riding on it, and we'll sort of explore an emotional tangent to it as well in our next segment, the stories on the sides. Jofra Archer returning to Barbados, returning to the same ground where everything started for him. Must be a very good feeling for him.
This is so emotional, I think, for such cricketers who go back to their own land to represent a different nation, but the nation they are representing, that has offered them this kind of opportunity. So it's a mixed feeling, and one can understand why he was so emotional when he landed in Barbados this time around. Although he has spent a lot of time on and off, more so when he was injured. He spent a lot of time in Barbados, but for him to go back to Barbados and perform in front of his home fans is such an incredible feeling.
And he's not the only one. He's not the only one. If you see Phil Salt, he spent 6 years there. I mean, although he was very young, from age 9 to 15, he was there.
Right.
He was also saying, I've got some friends here. He got in touch with them. He's played a lot of cricket, and he was saying that best place, because the only two things, weather is and you can play cricket all day. So that's what Phil Salt has done.
And by the way, if given an opportunity, I'm sure both of us would have loved to spend more time in Barbados.
Okay, we'll have the next show there, God willing.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, of course, Jofra Archer is an emotion right now, more than a player when he enters Barbados, because the young kids, even though they see blue on him, they see a bit of maroon in him as well still. And I think that will motivate them to pick up the ball and wear maroon at the end of the day, even though they got inspired by the opponent right now.
I think one thing that you need to give it to West Indian crowd is that they have seen so much cricket that they applaud a good cricket or a good cricketer. So they will be applauding a good performance, although there is a bit of a connect. They'll see somebody who's born and brought up there, and although he's playing for a different country, but they'll be expecting some pace from him. That's what West Indian spectator is used to. So they will applaud a good cricket. I won't say more than that, but they want to see a good cricket.
Right. Kensington Oval has changed in terms of the infrastructure, but the crowd remains the same, and the passion and the way they enjoy the game, that remains the same. And I think my first visit, I remember, was long time back in 1989, and I don't want to reveal my age at this stage, but then the ground was smaller, and you had these stands just next to the ground. And the crowd was so vociferous, and we would have these full houses. Those days, only test matches would take place, and maybe an odd white ball cricket or one-day matches. But now, since things have changed, but this crowd still they really love and enjoy whatever kind of format that is played at the Kensington Oval.
Wow! And we just in between mentioned, the crowd knows how to respect a very good cricketer. They understand cricket so well. talk a little bit about David Warner facing against someone like Jofra Archer
Mark Wood
in
as well.
Kensington Oval. Yeah, Mark Wood as well.
Yeah.
And overall, he's facing against England. That'll also switch something on in him, and in front of that crowd.
I think there's a lot going on as far as Warner is concerned. Last year or so, there's so much happened in league cricket as well, and I think he's got a bit of a point to prove. I don't see him going on for too long. The last inning was a very matured inning, and that's what you expect from your experienced player who's played all over the world, who's played in almost all the leagues and who's dominated. He's changed the style of his play, make it more accustomed to the conditions. Got a very good inning for Australia against Oman, much needed. Plays spin really well, and that's the reason why when you see his consistency, and you see his numbers are really well. As an opener, normally you see that you're good against the only fast bowling, but he's good against spin as well. Sure. So he's a very, very important player as far as Australian side is concerned to give them a good start.
Your thoughts on that? Warner,
he remains a legend for me, and I think Vijay is right when he points out that he's such an important player for Australia because not only he plays well against top quality pace bowling but also against spinners, and seldom you've seen a foreign opener whom you can slot in that kind of a category, and I think that is why David Warner is so special. And no wonder the Australian selectors, they have persisted with David Warner. They knew beforehand that the conditions West Indies are going to be tough. You needed an experienced hand like David Warner, who has the experience of winning such encounters or winning the ICC event, and on top of that, who can add some more value and stability at the top. Although they have Jake Fraser-McGurk, who has been exceptional in the past almost a year now, but still they went ahead with David Warner. It may be a very good decision on part of the Australian selectors. If David Warner, the way he has started, he can give some more time like this against top quality opponents, I'm sure he will offer that kind of stability to the Australian batting lineup.
He shall. He looks like someone for the future indeed. Now let's move on to the next segment, the extra yard. Now the extra yard is a segment where we literally go the extra yard and try and predict what might happen. We'll start with Vijay, sir.
Really?
England decide to bowl
you got
first.
a senior here.
Extra yard of pace.
Yeah,
Extra yard of pace. Extra yard of pace definitely
a lot
coming.
of pace today, isn't it?
Yes.
From both sides. Yeah.
Extra yard of pace. What do you think would be the total at the end of the first power play?
I think the way things are going, I'm looking anywhere between 33 to 38. I'm just going anything.
Do you want to look at the wickets column as well, a little bit?
This is what's been. This is how they've been going. I think 2 down by then. Anything between 35 to 42 down.
And your thoughts?
You know, when I talked about reinventing the wheel, it is this. Power play plays a very big role in T20 cricket. But maybe I think teams need to think again as to, are we looking at a lot of runs in the first power play of 6 overs, or do we look to have more wickets in hand? And if they want to go in this direction of keeping wickets in hand, then I'm looking at 40, maybe between 40 and 45 for the loss of 1 wicket, and then try and accelerate after that, because by then you'll be able to understand and gauge the surface quite well. And I think conveying that message not only to your partner but also to the dressing room is very important.
And I think tell Warner which one the right dressing room is, which one that
yeah.
shows.
Yes. So I think so I'm looking at that kind of a score.
All right then. What do you think is a final score that can be put up, a very respectable score given the condition and the magnitude of the game?
England back deep.
Yeah.
So I think Australia, well, we can always speculate, but I'm looking at least 165, 170. I think that will really push England, really hard.
170? Would they be comfortable with that?
I think the way things are going at the moment, they definitely be comfortable, because it's not about only numbers, it's the mindset as well, because everybody is thinking it's not a very high scoring tournament as well, and this is what happens. And Australians are known for that, runs on the board. That's how they have played their cricket every time. I mean, like, this is an advantage. They feel that having runs on the board gives you much more confidence, much more security. And this is looking at this England side as well, that the kind of cricket they are playing, if they lose a couple of early wickets, you can put pressure on them. So if they can manage 170 on the board, I feel they're in a very good, they'll be in a good position.
Against Oman, isn't it?
Oh yes, they did, and there was only a Stoinis show, and there was David Warner at top. Who would be the key players this time around? Would new players put their hand up?
You're talking about
Australia first up.
Australia
with the
for that. David Warner we have talked about, but I think middle order also holds the key. So for me again, it may be Marcus Stoinis, maybe Tim David down the order. So I'm looking at Marcus Stoinis because he can deliver with the ball as well as with the bat.
Right.
And for England, my hopes are on Jofra Archer and Jos Buttler. I think these two
Archer.
players can be extremely key to the team's success. If Jofra Archer can pick up 2 early wickets, then I think England will be quite pleased.
And who would your
The thing
picks
that
be?
I will add what Saba is saying is Stoinis is very good. I've seen him in IPL. I've worked with him in IPL. Is very good at 130, 135 sort of a pace. But anybody bowling faster than that and coming towards his body, I think there is definitely going to be a game plan against him. So against this sort of a bowling attack, I think he'll definitely be tested.
Ooh,
I'm looking.
Is that a matchup?
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of matches and very interesting one. Phil Salt, opening, and then his teammate Stark at KKR, he'll be bowling to him. I'm looking at that. Travis Head, I'm looking at 2 fast bowlers because Travis Head uses the pace really well. We're talking about Markwood and Jofra Archer here. He's somebody who can use that pace, but he's scored 3 ducks in last 5 innings in T20 cricket. So there'll be a pressure on him. But I think it's not only about one guy, although we're talking about just 1 or 2 players here, but it will be very important to see how they approach as a team.
And finally, I'd love to know, first from you, Saba sir, if you're Jofra Archer, who knows that, all right, I'm someone who intimidates by pace, does a slower ball become a better friend to you?
It does, but it all depends on the surface once again. I think these players are highly experienced. They understand the conditions quite well. And I think that's the role of the bowling coach, is to address this kind of an issue and let the bowler know what kind of length you have to bowl to, plus the pace. And I think once you have a measure of that, then I think it's easy to execute your plans. But I will not be surprised to see Jofra Archer slip in a couple of these sharp bounces.
And the situation as well. I mean, like if they're 3-4 down in first 6 overs, they'll attack more. It all depends where they are. 1 good over in power play and you can change the course of the game. You're thinking about 35 to 45, 1 good over and you'll be looking at 50 plus. And then everything changes from there. And the reason why this format is so unpredictable, because the chance of making a comeback is very limited. Couple of good overs and you can run away with the game. So yeah, it'll be very important to see all those.
Do you agree? Jos Buttler would be tested. Big game against Australia.
Yes. Plus, but he has the experience of handling it, and he was in pretty decent nick in the Indian Premier League here. So and plus on top of that, they have played 2 or 3 matches against Pakistan. So they are in a better position in terms of their preparation. But Jos Buttler, I think, being the captain, being a wicketkeeper batter, I think he's such an important figure for this English side.
And if you could quickly tell us.
There's one more thing that you need to add. You need to understand the moment they play at the country clothes, when the moment they're playing for their country, everything changes, the mindset changes. We talk about leagues, we talk about their performance there, not performing well or performing well. But when you're playing for country, you're a completely different mindset.
A completely different mindset indeed. But one thing is for sure, Jos Buttler doesn't want to pack a brolly in his kit bag anymore. It's been following him when he played against Pakistan. It's been following him here as well. Well, so the news is that England have won the toss and decided to bowl first, enjoy the game, and we'll be back for the mid-innings show.